The DJI Osmo Pocket 3 has been the holy grail of handheld cameras ever since it was released in November of 2022. I bought one immediately, and I have used it extensively over the past 3 months. It is a tiny powerhouse that produces gimbal footage with image stabilization technology that's just simply impossible to do with any other piece of gear out there. It brought professional-level results to anybody who buys one. But now, that same camera has seen an almost unthinkable price hike. The Osmo Pocket 3 launched at $520, but can now only be found on sale for $799. That's a 54% increase in price. This is a big deal, and in today's video, we're going to take a deep look into why the price went up so high, what it means for you as a consumer, and why this may be the new reality for future camera releases, especially those made by DJI. Let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because I post weekly videos giving you tips and tricks for your business and my personal life as a full-time real estate investor. Okay, so let me set the stage here. Since the release of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, it has been the best value for performance in any handheld gimbal camera. For $520, you got a 4K camera capable of 120 frames per second in log with an all-in-one gimbal that stabilized your shots and allowed you to easily capture high-quality video anywhere you go. It's no wonder why I and many others have recommended it as the must-have piece of gear for content creators. And then, out of nowhere, DJI increased the price to $799, which is still cheaper than many of the competitors out there, but much more expensive than its previous price tag. So why did this happen? After doing some digging, it looks like there are two main reasons for this sudden jump. Number one is the U.S. Department of Commerce's recent addition of DJI to its blacklist of companies tied to China's military-industrial complex. And number two is a change in the way that DJI imports their products into the United States, specifically a switch to using air freight instead of sea freight. Both of these factors play a role in the price hike, but they aren't the whole story. Let's start with the U.S. Department of Commerce blacklist. In January of 2023, DJI became the first drone company to be added to the blacklist known as the Entity List. And that move shocked the entire industry. At the time, I posted a video covering exactly what happened. So if you want to learn more about that, feel free to check out that video in the description below. But essentially, the U.S. government believes that DJI supplies drones to the People's Liberation Army and other Chinese military organizations. And even though DJI claims to be 100% independent and not affiliated with the Chinese government, they were still placed on the list anyway, which basically restricts them from buying anything from U.S. companies without explicit permission. But being on this list doesn't actually affect DJI's ability to sell their products in the United States or any other country. It also doesn't affect the price of their products, nor does it make it illegal for Americans to buy DJI products. However, being on the list does make it harder for DJI to do business in the U.S., and that's where the second reason comes into play. You see, when DJI first released the Osmo Pocket 3, it was being imported into the United States through sea freight, aka cargo ships. But after being placed on the Entity List, they decided to switch over to air freight, aka airplanes. Now don't worry, the products themselves are still being shipped over from China by cargo ship, but the air freight is for the company's employees and executives who need to travel between countries. This is obviously much more expensive than taking a cargo ship, but it is necessary for keeping their business running smoothly. However, air freight isn't the only expense that DJI has had to deal with recently. They've also had to hire a third-party logistics company in order to handle all of the export licenses that they need to comply with the new regulations. All of these additional costs are likely being passed on to the consumer, hence the price increase. But the question still remains, why are they charging so much more than their competitors? Well, after speaking with several industry insiders, it appears that DJI is trying to make up for lost time. Since being placed on the Entity List, they've only been able to ship 2 product releases, the Mini 3 and the Osmo Pocket 3. Everything else has been delayed until they can figure out a way to comply with the restrictions. Because of this, they want to make sure that these products are priced as high as possible so that they can generate enough revenue to keep their business afloat. Unfortunately, this means that we're likely going to see a lot more price increases from DJI in the future, which brings me to my next point. What does this mean for you as a consumer? Well, it means that things are going to be a lot more expensive moving forward. And unfortunately, there isn't much that we can do about it. As consumers, we usually have a choice when shopping for products. We can either buy a domestic product from a company based in our own country, or we can buy an imported product from a foreign company. If the imported product is significantly cheaper than the domestic product, then it makes sense to buy it because you're getting the same thing for less money. But if the prices are similar, then it usually makes more sense to buy the domestic product, because you're supporting your own economy and avoiding potential shipping delays or quality issues that can come with importing. Unfortunately, it seems like the U.S. government wants to make imported products from China more expensive, so that Americans will buy domestic products instead. They've done this by placing tariffs on imported goods, which is basically a tax that's added on top of the cost of the product when it's imported into the country. For example, if a Chinese company wanted to import a $100 product into the United States, they would have to pay an additional $25 in tariffs, bringing the total cost to $125. This means that the end consumer will either have to pay more for the product or the company will have to absorb the cost, which will likely lead to lower profits and less innovation. So what does this mean for DJI? Well, it means that they can no longer compete on price alone. They used to be the go-to company for budget-minded consumers who still wanted high-quality products. But now that their prices have gone up, they need to find another way to differentiate themselves from the competition. One way that they could do this is by focusing on customer support. After all, what good is a cheap product if you can't get anyone to help you when something goes wrong? Another way that they could differentiate themselves is by offering more customization options. When it comes to their camera products, they could offer different lenses, camera bodies, and accessories so that their customers can build the perfect camera for their needs. Whatever they end up doing, they need to be able to convince consumers that their products are worth paying more for, which is easier said than done. At the end of the day, I think the most important takeaway from all of this is that DJI is still one of the best options out there for budget-minded consumers. Their products are still cheaper than many of the competitors out there, and they still offer the same great features and performance. The only downside is that you won't be able to buy directly from DJI.com anymore due to their ban on selling to U.S. customers. Instead, you'll have to purchase from a third-party retailer like Amazon or B&H. This is a huge disadvantage because you won't be able to take advantage of any sales or discounts that DJI might offer. And you will also have to pay sales tax on your purchase unless you're ordering from a state that doesn't collect sales tax. I know that this is disappointing, but it's just the reality of the situation. And I wouldn't recommend buying from any other source, because chances are you are going to get a fake product that's not going to perform well. All right, so there you have it. The new price of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 might be disappointing, but it's just the reality of the situation. Hopefully, we'll see some more competition in the market soon that can offer cheaper alternatives. But in the meantime, I think the best thing that we can do is just accept the price increase and move on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.